I recently ran a poll over on my community page with 4 2023 releases, and I asked you to vote on which one of them that I should watch for today's video, and out of all of them, nostalgia for the 80s and 90s won. So we're watching The Last Video Store. But if you don't know anything about The Last Video Store from 2023, let me quickly fill you in. The Last Videotape from 2023 is a supernatural slasher horror comedy. A young woman who is unknowingly in possession of a legendary cursed tape takes a collection of old videotapes to the video store. She and the store owner reawaken its curse, which leads to the release of a raft of cinematic villains. If you're new here, I go by Hordes, and if you're not new, welcome back. I talk about horror movies here on my channel on Mondays and Fridays, but as always, when it comes to watching movies that I have never seen before, I am now going to go and watch The Last Video Store off camera, so that way if you two decide that you want to watch the supernatural cursed tape movie, nothing will be spoilt for you, because nobody wants to watch a movie that you've just watched somebody else watch from start to finish, and I keep it spoiler free here on my channel because nobody, and I mean nobody, likes spoilers.
Who here likes nostalgia?
I thought when I reviewed As the Gods Will on Monday that had me dancing around spoilers. But here we go again. This movie is like if low-budget Jason Voorhees went full Sadako from The Ring, escaped a cursed VHS tape, and went full Wrecking Ball riot mode inside an 80s/90s video store, while simultaneously going against somebody that is a massive fan of their franchise and knows everything about it inside and out, and a toxic as all hell action hero who has also escaped his videotape, but from one of the bad entries, and thinks that he's all that and a bag of chips. Like, I would have liked more of low-budget Jason Voorhees. Like, I do think he is massively underutilized in this, and Viper, no, he can get in the bin. Can't stand him. No. Like, its plot is fine. It's fine, and I hate to describe it that way because it really is just fine.
I don't understand, bitch. Don't understand.
Besides Kevin, who's the guy that runs the video store, I really couldn't care less about any of them, and that is saying something because there's only 5 people in this cast according to IMDb, so we're talking tiny, tiny, tiny cast. But besides Kevin, I don't know who anyone is. Viper, like I keep saying, can get in the bin. He's like, I get, you're probably supposed to hate his character, but all he did was just annoy me. And I can't tell you what low-budget Jason Voorhees' name is because, like I said, he's underutilized. Like, they don't tell me enough for me to actually remember. I know he's in a movie called Beaver something. Feel free to make joke about that, but I can't tell you about anyone.
Who are these people?
The nostalgia in this is delicious. Like, how many of us would still choose to go to the video store if it still existed? Like, I get it, it's a nostalgic thing, but you can't tell me now if they still existed that it wouldn't be like some sort of social hub for those of us that wanted more people to talk about horror with. And let's be honest, streaming doesn't have everything. Like, you can't stream 28 Days Later here in the UK anywhere. But that doesn't mean that I want to buy a physical copy of something that I haven't seen before. Like, can we bring back video stores? Can we make this a new thing? This movie, though, is heavily reliant on its viewer having those rose-tinted nostalgia goggles for this particular time period and this particular setting. If you don't have the memories linked to this particular thing, there is no way that you are going to enjoy this to the level of somebody like myself who grew up on a Friday after school going to Blockbusters and picking out what I was playing or watching for that weekend. I will say though, if you do have the nostalgia goggles and the memories for this kind of thing, what happens in this movie will come as absolutely no surprise to you whatsoever.
No.
Its CGI is bad. It's really bad, and I'm going to assume that this was personally a choice to go with the whole 1980s, 1990s vibes that the rest of this movie has. Like, the video store looks like it could be straight out of the 1980s, like the late 1980s, blue and pink neon everywhere, the purple carpet with the symbols all over it, like all of that good stuff. And then the CGI is like very mid to late 90s. We're talking like Buffy the Vampire Slayer, The Mayor's Ascension kind of bad CGI. Its practical effects are bloody and fun and everything that you would expect for something that's paying homage to 80s and 90s slasher movies. But there's some really fun effects that have been clearly applied in post, because at one point there is a filter that is very reminiscent. If anybody has ever had a VHS player, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about here. When you had a VHS tape that was wearing out and you would get the like grainy texture and it would appear at the top and bottom line and it would distort and everything, like there's a really fun filter that gets used in the sort of last half an hour, probably even later than that to be honest, maybe the last 20 minutes, that just feels incredibly nostalgic and makes me remember all of the VHS tapes that I wore out. Sorry, Rugrats. Visually, this movie is beautiful for the neon-loving 80s baby in me, and if you're an 80s and 90s baby, or even a 70s baby and can remember all of this stuff, you will love visually everything about this movie, because it feels like you could step into this world and take something off of a shelf. It is so beautifully decorated. Like, I have to give points for this, and then the whole thing is accompanied by a synthwave 80s soundtrack. Like, audio and visual in this, I have no complaints. In the end, I am actually going to give the last video store from 2023 a 3 out of 5 stars, and I will explain. The audio and the visual in this 100% sell the time period, the location, like everything about it is great. But this plot ain't it, sis. It is so meh. Like, nostalgia sells, and the audio and visual parts of this movie just 100% confirm it. But that plot does not match up to the nostalgia that this movie provides. But my opinion isn't the only opinion that matters, which begs the question, should you personally watch the last video store from 2023? If you like your horror movies flavoured with video stores, cursed VHS tapes, slasher villains, neon lights, action heroes, or anything that is listed here, then you may like the last video store from 2023. So there you have it, my initial thoughts and my review for my first time watching the last video store from 2023. If you've also seen this movie, I would love to know what your thoughts and opinions are on it down in the comment section down below. And if you are interested in watching this one, check the description bar below the video where I'll leave a link to justwatch.com so you can find out where it is streaming in your country. If you would like to know where else you can find me, I am also over on Instagram and Letterboxd at HordesOfHorror, where I talk about every single horror movie that I watch, not just the ones that I talk about here on YouTube. But speaking of YouTube, I'll be back on Monday with another solo movie review. No idea what yet, but I am feeling something from the 80s and 90s. I've been doing a lot of modern movies recently, and I'm kind of over it because off camera, I've been watching some 80s and 90s trash, which is feeding my soul on a different level. So you'll have to check my community post on Sunday to find out what I've picked, but I guarantee it will be something 80s and 90s. So until next time, bye.